Welcome to the Education Marketing Leader podcast with Kris Raposo. If you're looking to dive into the latest industry insights, draw inspiration from education success stories, or just want to sharpen your marketing skills, you're in the right place. Here, we bring you a diverse range of voices from experts and leaders in the field, offering you a unique blend of professional development and practical strategies. Whether you want to understand your audience better, stay updated with the latest tech trends in marketing, or expand your professional network, we've got you covered. So while you're driving on your morning commute or winding down after a busy day, let's explore the dynamic world of education marketing together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Education Marketing Leader with Kris Raposo. Today, my guest is Kris Achten. He is the Manager, International Marketing and Recruitment at KDG University College out of Belgium and the Marketing Strategist at People Like You. Today's topic is using stories to market to international students, something that's very relevant right now, especially in the United States. Kris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you too. I've been following Kris for a while on LinkedIn, so I've been a fan of his work, and I really appreciate his time for being here today to teach us a little bit about how to market to international students. Now, Kris also he works with people like you, and he has a course on storytelling that I recently took, and we'll talk a bit about that and how to use storytelling as well in marketing, which is one of the oldest forms of communication. So it's been around for millions of years. Storytelling, before we could even write, is how we transferred knowledge and history down the line. So Kris, what do you think most institutions still get wrong when they try to use storytelling to attract international students in their marketing?
That's a good question. I think what most universities get wrong is also what most brands get wrong when they start out doing storytelling. They tell stories about themselves, and those are the easy stories to tell because we know what happened, we know how we felt, and we know the whole story because we were there. But these are not very effective stories. The effective stories are about your audience, and in the case of universities, that typically prospective students or graduates, or ideally a combination of both. So you want to tell stories in which your audience recognizes themselves and stories that align with their worldview. Especially since in the field that I work in, we only recruit bachelor students. So they've never been to a university. They've never applied to university. They're just graduating from college. So they don't know what to look for. They don't know what features to pay attention to, but they will recognize stories of people who made that transition that they're about to do. So these stories are always the most effective ones. The stories that take into account where they are now and where they want to go. And ideally, that's like, it's in its most simple form. It's like a story triangle: a before, tension rises, then a change event, and then tension releases. And you show up at the peak, right, to help them transition into this new state. But to answer your question, what most brands, beginning brands and universities tend to get wrong is telling stories about themselves, about their features, about how good they are. But effective stories, they're about your audience.
Yeah, storytelling one-on-one, especially in case studies, make the customer the hero of the story. Now, when it comes to international students, it's really broad, robust, and you got to really get into the details of your audience, especially not just language-wise, but culturally as well. What sticks with them and what touches them and what could offend them and what could turn them away, right? And for your example, let's just talk about what are some of your three top international regions that people are coming to Belgium from?
For our university, we have a strong demand from Central European countries, so Romania, Bulgaria, and then recently also the Baltics. And then outside of Europe, we see growing demand or growing interest in Vietnam, interestingly. And we're now launching a new bachelor's degree in nursing. And that would be one of the only ones that is taught in English outside of an English-speaking country, and also quite affordable. And we're attracting an audience from regions where we've never done any marketing whatsoever. So Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Sierra Leone, even, like countries I wouldn't have been able to pinpoint on a map. And now suddenly there's an audience from these countries finding us there. But traditionally, I'd say over the last couple of years, mostly Central Europe, Romania, Bulgaria, Southern Europe, the Baltics.
Yeah, that is very interesting that you're tapping into a market that you weren't aware of that would have been of interest to your university from the African region. What do you attribute that to? Was it word of mouth or how does that work?
Honestly, so I know this is a podcast about marketing, but the only thing we did when we launched that program is we built a web page. So it launches next year, next September. So we're now June 25, July 25. And the only thing we did was build a web page and list it on some portals. And people were actively searching for nursing in English. So they literally Googled it, or they asked ChatGPT or whatever resource they used, and they found us. And now we're seeing a lot of interest from countries where we need to do some exploring.
That sounds like we want to have another episode about organic search engine optimization and how to get people to find you even if they're not on your radar. So that's incredible in and of itself, and a case study, I think, for the future. If somebody else wants to pick up Kris for his podcast to talk about that, reach out to me or him.
Then our digital marketer is the person to talk to. But yeah, interestingly, within 1 month, we had 300 registered leads. So students who left their email address, and we hadn't communicated anything. So sometimes it's not about the marketing strategy or the marketing communication tactics. It's just about finding an offer that people are actively looking for.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So in your course, let's go back to storytelling 101. You break down why ideas spread in the marketplace, but used as an acronym. And the acronym is to spread to make the private public resonate with your emotions, have environmental triggers that are actionable, and create desires. Which of those triggers do you think higher ed marketers consistently miss when communicating across cultures and borders? Because you talked about you have Central Europe, but then you have Southeast Asia as well.
Right. Well, the thing about the triggers in the acronym, so the E in the acronym, environmental triggers, with that I mean that you need to show up with your product, with your story, in a place where people are reminded of that they need it, right? So it doesn't make a lot of sense to promote bachelor's degrees on LinkedIn, for instance, because high school kids are not on LinkedIn and they're not looking for programs there. They're on TikTok and they're on Instagram, and maybe they're on educational fairs or they're in school. So that's why informing a school counselor that the students see every day can be much more beneficial than launching an online campaign on a platform that may be not being used in that country or for that demographic. So that's what I mean with environmental triggers. You kind of need to show up at the moment or at the pain point where they think like, I need an education. I want to become a nurse.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I recently had a podcast episode with somebody about getting those missed target audiences involved, such as parents and school counselors that are on the front line to advise those students what to do and where to go, because they already built that trust with them through the high school years. So to get them involved and top of mind is very important as well.
Absolutely. Speaking about parents, we also have like a mini parent strategy, and it consists of two things. That is that we've trained our staff, our faculty, how to do LinkedIn properly. So how to actually create content on LinkedIn and how to, you know how the game works, how to comment and what your headline should look like. And then secondly, in our email funnel, in our email drip feed, there's an email that reads literally, forward this to your parents. And then that email directs parents to a landing page on our website that translates the entire content of the website into parent language, like what parents need to get out of it. Like, and they want to know about other things. Is it accredited? Will they find work? Is it safe? These are things that prospective students may also consider, but it's not top of mind. Whereas for parents, it typically is. And that page is like an environmental trigger for parents.
That is very important, especially if they're safe. If you have kids, you know, safety is number one priority, and followed by, do I have an ROI there if I pay for my kids' school? Do they get a job? It can let launch and not be boomerangs and come back to my house after school. So international students, told you in the pre-interview, I immigrated to the United States from Germany. It's a long, far ways away from home. I left at the age of 22. Some people make that decision earlier in their life, right? Coming from Vietnam, like you said, this is a big decision to leave home, to leave the region, and to learn a new language, new systems. There's going to be new fears. What kind of stories actually build trust and move them to act? You talked about it a little bit earlier, having student testimonials there. What else would work?
Yeah, it is for many of these students, it's one of the most important decisions they make in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in countries like Vietnam, from my experience, it's like they're one shot, and they're one shot at higher education, and it has to be on target. It has to be the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
I've even heard stories of not in Vietnam, but from other countries, where entire families like put together the money to send one student to KDG, to Belgium. So we carry a massive responsibility to inform these students properly. For me, marketing well, especially in higher education marketing, it's not selling of features. It's actually being super clear about what you deliver, make your promise very clear, and then deliver on that promise. And I think especially in the game of higher ed marketing, where you have like very long lead funnels and then a long product delivery, if you will, sometimes 3 or 4 years before students see the result of that investment, it's super important that you are super clear on what you promise and how you will deliver on it. And then if you can tell the right stories of students that were looking for specific things, and that kind of resonates with, and that's the third element of my SPREAD acronym, it will resonate with where students are right now, the anxiety, the stress, like, will I make the right choice? If you can highlight that in your story and then show the transformation to where they are now, and ideally that's you having delivered on your promise and students getting what they wanted initially, those stories are super effective. But you need to make these emotions that prospective students are going through, you need to name them. You can't just ignore them. You actually need, in our experience, it really helps if we name them. And that's where student testimonials come in very handy, because these students, they've been there, and especially first or second year students, it's quite recent for them. And that's why we always interview students at the graduation ceremony, at the end of their journey, but also at the welcoming days, right when they've arrived, the first week. And that's not to capture marketing materials, but that's to capture sentiments, to capture how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
And if they feel that way, that means that somebody a couple of weeks before that decision also felt that way or is looking to feel that way. So in these stories that we tell, we always focus on like the emotional journey somebody goes through, and much less on functionality or the features of higher education, because that is clear.
Yeah, interviewing them when they start their journey is kind of like a focus group as well for internal marketing, and making sure that their fears are addressed when they're coming on campus. They may be scared about a certain thing that you may have a solution to, or that could be a solution that could be introduced down the road to make them as well as their peers more comfortable during their time at your university. And then you also mentioned the pressure these young adults are under when the whole family pitches in to put all their eggs in one basket. It's from an outside perspective, you don't always feel that when you see somebody coming in. You talk about butts and seats, just making sure you fill the space and just deliver on your KPI. But I think what differentiates a marketer from good to great is to kind of carry that burden along with them, to make sure that what we've promised in our material is actually delivered by everybody, whether that's the faculty or the staff. So I feel like the marketing doesn't end when the person signs the dotted line and submits a deposit, but throughout their journey on campus. And I think that's something we always have to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I often talk about the circles of marketing, something that my mentor Seth Godin taught me. So at the outer circle, there's like what most people think marketing is. It's like clicks and hype and buzz and getting leads. But there's a few circles in, and then one circle in, that's the story you tell, the community you build. And one layer deeper is the support and the price. That's not something we have a lot of wiggle room with. And internally, like the very middle circle is the product. And if your marketing isn't working, you need to move one circle in. It's not going to work better if you just create more buzz and more hype, and if you don't deliver on the product with the right support. There's another tactic I'd like to share. We have a shared inbox here at KDG. So it's literally study@kdg.be, and I still man it. I still read and I still answer any questions we get there from prospective students. And we have a lot of standard answers that we kind of use a tool. It's called Text Expander, and like the whole team uses the same collection of snippets to answer like standard questions. But occasionally we get, like 5 years ago, we got a lot of questions that we got for the first time. Now we've seen most questions, but still occasionally there's questions that we didn't see coming. And there's literally stories waiting to be told there, and there's service waiting to be delivered. Like if there's an acute specific question that you don't know the answer to, then yeah, one, that's a content piece, because first you need to solve it, and then you need to make content about it, because the question comes even though you have a website that has everything on it. So for us, that really helps. So back when I was still traveling as a recruiter, I would always come back with content ideas from a fair. I would always come back with stories. I would always come back with ambassadors. And now with the inbox, I still, harvest stories or story ideas or content ideas.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning into the show today. I hope you enjoyed so far. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast, but we're just overwhelmed by the sheer amount of work that goes into it? I get it. After producing over 100 episodes for the Education Marketing Leader, there's a lot of time that goes into this, time that most of us simply don't have. And that's where the Education Marketing Leader podcast production service comes into play. Me and my team will take care of the heavy lifting, from scripting, strategy, editing to promoting. All you have to do is show up, record your episode, share your expertise, connect with your audience, and build your personal brand. So if you've been sitting on a podcast idea, today is the time to act. Reach out to me via DM on LinkedIn and we'll get you started. And now back to the episode. Yeah, definitely. Great piece of content for frequently asked questions to drive that SEO and organic traffic to your website as well. So transformations at the heart of storytelling. Can you walk us through a campaign that you remember, or a single student story that nailed that transformation arc?
Yeah, absolutely. We've never really done campaigns based on a single story, but there's one story I'd like to share. A couple of years ago, well, I think by now it's 5 years ago, I was at a recruitment event in Romania, in Bucharest, and I bumped into a guy, like a tall guy, like very muscular, tall guy, and he really looked out of his place. Like I was not even at my booth. Like I ran into him, I bumped into him. I said, "Hey, what are you looking for, and how can I help you?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I wanted to study something with computers, but yeah, I don't know. I think I can't afford anything here." And I asked him, like, "Okay, what's your budget? What do you want to study?" And he said his budget. I said, "Okay, there's options for you." And I showed him several options, and one of them was, of course, KDG. We chatted for 50 minutes. A couple of months later, I see his name in the inbox. He applied. I recognize his name. A couple of months later, he's indeed at the welcoming days, and he starts in our computer science program. And 3 years later, he graduates. And before he graduated, he held a job offer for TikTok. So he now works in Ireland on the algorithm, the TikTok algorithm, and is doing a master in computer science. And at that point, when he bumped into me at the fair, he was convinced that he would not be able to afford an education abroad, and that all institutions were super selective, super exclusive. He didn't have the right grades, and he was very, self-conscious about this. Like, I'm not good enough. He was convinced he wasn't good enough, and I can't pay for this. And now he's there. And this is like a long-winded way of saying, like, it's like the ultimate transformation. Like, before, he was convinced that I can't study anywhere. I'm stuck here in Romania. There's no career options for me. He chooses a university. That university delivers on exactly what it promises, and he gets to live his dream. And it's on our website. Like, the story is on our website. His name is Paul Christian. You can read it there. And now we published an interview with him, and that's him basically sharing his best pieces of advice for prospective students looking to find the right university. So he doesn't even talk about KDG. He talks about questions that students should be asking themselves when they look for a university.
That's amazing that you turned that. So it's a written blog post or an article, and then you turn it into short form videos.
There's no video. It's
No
just
video. Okay, just written.
Just written.
What are your thoughts on short form video content for marketing?
I think it's very helpful if it works, and it's very hard to do it right because we're marketing to Gen Z and they're very critical and they know what short form video should look like. And they know what it shouldn't look like. And that's why last year we started an initiative called the Creator Academy, where we recruited a professional short form video creator. He specialized in going viral and he helps businesses go viral on TikTok and Instagram. And he actually trained a group of our student ambassadors to do better online content. So it's like a crash course, 8 weeks, on how to create vertical content. So they recorded everything, they edited, they shipped. He wrote the captions, or he helped them write the captions, and we optimized through that. Because, Kris, I really feel that it's not a skill we need to learn, especially at my age. I'm never going to learn how to do viral short form video content. But I thought, okay, if we can teach this to our students, they all want to be influencers, well, the kids in that program, and it actually helps them level up. And of course, if they're going to share content, some of that content will be about their life, which is at a specific university somewhere in Antwerp, Belgium. Like that's like our product, our service is kind of packaged in the stories that they will tell automatically.
Okay. Now let's stay with the videos one more minute here. Do you use students to create user-generated content for your university?
Yes, we do. Yeah, that's exactly that program. So we invited them to start creating content, and it could be about anything, right? But for the Creator Academy, like they were invited to create content about student life, Antwerp, whatever. But of course, these skills are very transferable to any other goal they want the content to serve.
Absolutely. And that's what the prospective students want to see, right? They want to see people like them doing stuff that they want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've talked to other people on this podcast as well about the user-generated content, as well as like day in the life videos and things that are currently trending, like, hey, midterms are coming up or stuff like that. Or is this what kind of food they have at a cafeteria? You know, stuff like what we would think like is completely irrelevant, but if you have the target audience doing the videos for the prospective students, you know, you're tapping into some nuances that you wouldn't have thought about.
How cold does it get? That's what it is.
Right.
We get like, okay,
let's. That's right. That's right. So you encourage institution to make the student a hero. We talked about that earlier, not the school, which sounds theoretically simple, but it can be hard to do because you kind of want to make sure that you somewhat keep the brand front and center as well. Otherwise, it's just a piece of content and it goes nowhere and you spend the money and it's gone. So what does that look like in action without completely ignoring the institution?
Ideally, you tell a story in which that would not be possible without the institution, right? It needs to be embedded in the story, and you can't tell the story without the university showing up at some point and making the student achieve the thing that they want to. But still, you don't need to talk about this specific lecture or this specific class or this specific building or about your facilities. Yeah, as is explained in the Hero's Journey and in Story Brand, Donald Miller's Story Brand, you show up at a certain point as a guide to help the hero, the student, get what they want and avoid what they don't want. And they won't be able, if you do it well, they won't be able to tell the story without mentioning you. Like Paul Christian, if he talks, like I've talked to him at the graduation ceremony, he delivered a beautiful speech there. And he literally mentioned the encounter we had. And it just happened to be me, but we happened to offer exactly the thing he was looking for. And then, of course, he can't tell that story without mentioning that specific university, or at least hinting at it. And you want your stories to be subtle. You don't want to scream like, oh, we're the best school and we're whatever. Mm-hmm. No, we help people like this achieve this. Mm-hmm. If you're somebody like them, then well, maybe we can help you too.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And it's just another encouragement to marketers out there to get out of their booth and walk the floors as well and keep their head up and look around and see the opportunities that may be front and center that present themselves to them if they are aware of what's going on around them. So kudos to you on finding that person and getting beautiful stories out of it. Through your side business, people like you help brands and individuals tell better stories. Mm-hmm. Let's go practical. What's one lesson from your work there that university marketers should implement today or could implement today?
We already hinted at it earlier in the conversation, but storytelling, people make it very, very complicated, but it doesn't need to be very complicated. It just needs to be true, authentic, and needs to align with your audience's worldviews. Mm-hmm. The only skill you need as a storyteller is not a good voice, it's not a large vocabulary, it's empathy. It's just being able to empathize with the person you're telling a story to. Like, what do they need to hear? What do they want to accomplish? What dreams do they have? What do they want to do with their lives? And if it doesn't resonate with them, you can shout or you can tell a story as beautifully as you can, but it's not going to resonate. So it's literally marketing 101. Like, people don't care about what you do, they care about what you can do for them. And the same thing goes for stories. They don't care about your stories about winning this award or whatever. They care about how will you help me achieve what I want to do. That's one thing. And then the other thing that I always need to stress, hence the name of my business, people like you, again, quote from Seth Godin, people like us do things like this, right? So you need to find who are the people like us, the people like you, and what is the type of stuff that they do, and tell your stories based on that. And make sure that your product or your service kind of fits their narrative that they tell about themselves.
That's right. And if you need more help, there's a course called Storytelling 101 by Kris. How can I get a hold of that?
Well, it's on my LinkedIn, available for download, free, or you can pay as much as you want. Today, somebody paid me $4 for it, which is a random but interesting amount. But you can also download it for free. It's a 45-minute course. It's general because it can help with online storytelling for content creators, but also for businesses and for universities. So in the course, I highlight some of the timeless storytelling principles.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. And I want to make sure I'll link to it in the show notes as well.
Sure, yeah. Thanks.
As we land this plane, if a university's marketer's listening to, what would be one story this year to drive international enrollment? What kind of story would you tell and how would you structure it?
I would focus on alumni stories, like students that may already have left your institution a couple of years ago. Because something that we always tend to forget is, like, us education marketers, we work in cycles, and there's like a new intake now, and then our work kind of ends the moment the student arrives at the institution, and then we're focusing on the next. But a student's journey, like the whole admissions, the application, admissions, enrollment, it's like a fraction of their story. Like, their education is even a fraction of like their life story. So if you can tell stories or just show students that have graduated and what have they become, what have they gone to do, what are they doing years after they graduated, and how did that period at your institution shift their perspective, or how did it open doors? And we very often focus on like bridging that enrollment gap from a lead to an enrolled student. But actually, the journey that a student's on is much, much, much longer. For them, it's not about getting in the class. It's about getting out there, like finding the job they want or starting the business they want. Maybe a bit contrarian, but like in the time of AI, I focus on storytelling, and in higher ed marketing, where everybody's involved or focused on how do we bridge the enrollment gap, like zoom out, like tell the bigger story. Like, what is the big transition that you're helping people to accomplish?
Yeah, I love those, because Mike University does the same thing, and it has done it with me as well. It's like, where are they now? Campaigns, like talking about the people that went through the university, what they've achieved, and it helps the alumni stay connected to their alma mater and, possibly turn into donors as well in the United States, especially. Tell us a little bit about KDG University, people like you, and how people can connect with you after this episode.
All right, so KDG, Karel de Grote, Charlemagne, Karel de Grote in Dutch. KDG, University of Applied Sciences, is, a University of Applied Sciences in Antwerp, Belgium. We have around 15,000 students, 15, and around 1,500 international students for currently 5 English taught bachelor's degrees, and then next year a new one in nursing. We're a school that we've positioned ourselves as the most accessible university. Like the story that Paul Christian told, it's a good story for us because illustrates exactly what we're about. We're accessible. It's not easy to graduate, but it's easy to get in. And that is what for some students is ideal. And for other students may be exactly the thing they don't want to hear. And that also helps. So that's KDG. People Like You, it's my own business. It's just me. Currently, it's People Like Me. And I help startups, scale-ups, and sometimes individual solopreneurs develop their marketing strategy, but it's very often connected to their business strategy. So like, remember the circles of marketing, I work from the inside out. So the last thing we develop is the marketing execution, but very often it's business strategy and then how to build a brand, story, community, and then marketing execution. And you can find out more about my work on LinkedIn and also on my website, a very, very minimal website that I built myself. That's as far as my marketing execution skills go. I built it in Card in 15 minutes at People Like You BE for Belgium. So peoplelikeYou.com.
Kris, thank you so much for being part of the show. Really appreciate your insight that you shared. I know a lot of people get some good stuff out of it, and really looking forward to sharing it.
All right. Thanks, Kris.
Thank you. Take care. And that's a wrap for this episode, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Education Marketing Leader Podcast this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and your network. And if you ever thought about starting your own podcast, now that you listen to one and you got inspired, reach out to me via DM. We'd love to help you launch your own. We'll take care of everything for you, the scripting, the strategy, the editing, distribution. All you have to do is show up, connect with your audience, and build your personal brand. So if you're ready for it, let's chat. And for everybody else, we'll see you next time at the Education Marketing Leader Podcast. Take care, friends.